Hey, welcome to my channel. This is Spirit Soul Sense, Information for Your Soul. I am Sharice, and I wanted to talk about T.I. and add a bit of a nuanced conversation about who he is, his journey, and what's happened recently with him in the headlines. I think any mistake that we make, that other people make, that celebrities make, are really just an opportunity for us to learn something. So for T.I., right, I've been following him since his album Paper Trail. I think that was his breakout album. It really put him on to stardom and into pop culture. And since then, I haven't really listened to him much or followed him much. I don't watch any of his reality shows. I already don't really watch reality shows to begin with, but for T.I., it wasn't a priority for me to watch anything that he created or to listen to more of his music. I think the style of music that he created, the things that he were talking about, didn't resonate with me. And so I really liked Paper Trail. It was like a progression for him, really had bangers on it. But the stuff that he was talking about on follow-up albums, singles, didn't really connect with me in the place that I was at the time in life. And if you look at some of my other videos, you'll see I talk about some other musicians, and they are just very different. The content they create is very different. Not to take anything away from T.I. He creates great music. He has great work ethic, very creative, has a new show on Netflix. I think he can create some awesome things. But everything is not for everybody, and everything he creates is not for me. I think just like anyone else in life, the things you create are reflective of where you are in that time of your life. And so if we look at the progression of his works, if we look at the progression of his relationships, we can see a trend without knowing him, right? I don't need to know him personally to be able to see from the outside, right? Because the way we understand our own growth is by looking at the decisions we make, looking at our behaviors, looking how things are less chaotic in our own life. So if I compare him to someone like Eckhart Tolle, whom I love, I can see that their lives are very different, and that, Eckhart Tolle is a little bit further along in the process, in a different place in life than, say, someone like T.I. So this is really not about casting judgment on people. I just hate talking about people in a judgmental way. I know I'm picking apart him and some of the things that he's doing, but there's a purpose to it, and it's really to help us, He is in the spotlight right now, but there's still an opportunity for us to learn something instead of, sort of just gossiping or tearing somebody down. So I don't know anything about his previous relationships, but I know that he has children from a previous relationship, and he's been with Tiny for a very long time. And we can see that they have definitely had their own share of marital problems. Anyone who's been in a marriage for a long time will tell you that it's challenging. It's a thing that you have to work at to help it be this fulfilling and happy and healthy experience. And we can see that out in the open, they've definitely had some difficulties in their marriage. From the outside looking in, it looks like a toxic relationship. I say anytime people are back and forth or lying or cheating, you guys are not really coming together and living in your truth and being open and honest with each other or supportive. And it's really not the best kind of relationship to be in. I don't know if they've done couples. If you've watched their show, maybe you know if they've done couples therapy or something. Because I think couples therapy is a great positive thing that people can do when they're having difficulties. You can do it before, you can do it after you've solved things to help keep things strong. But I know that T.I. has cheated on Tiny, or the whole thing with Floyd Mayweather and Tiny, where T.I. fought him, and Tiny was doing some real sketch things as a wife. But anyway, we can look at their relationship and get a sense of where they were at the time. I know they filed for divorce, but they've been working on things. I've been in a toxic relationship. I have a whole other video about that. So I feel there are some signs and red flags that you can see even in other people's relationship. But this idea of breaking up, getting back together, breaking up, getting back together, it's just never healthy. That's not a healthy behavior. People who are in stable, happy, and healthy relationships don't say, I don't want to be with you. It just doesn't work like that. They say, here is a problem that we can tackle together. Let's work on it. They don't cheat on each other. They don't lie to each other. Not that they don't make mistakes, right? If you're in an intimate, long-term relationship, you're going to have to practice forgiveness a lot, because if you're in that close proximity to another person, you are going to offend them. It's just going to happen. But there's a difference between making mistakes and, you know, speaking off or like cutting someone off and actually doing something like very harmful and purposeful to hurt someone that you're with, or like not caring that you're hurting someone that you're with. So giving you a sense of his progress and progression as a person, I think the two of them are in a better place now, that they're fighting less and they aren't going through the divorce, which is a beautiful thing. I believe in marriage. I don't think that cheating in and of itself is a reason to leave a marriage. You know, I'm also like on track with Esther Perel and like how she talks about like people cheating and like all those things, and how sometimes, you know, maybe an open marriage like works for people. Maybe at one time Tiny and T.I. had that and then it stopped working. Like, you have to reassess all the time in relationships, especially when they're these long-term relationships. But T.I. is in process like the rest of us, and I think a process specific to manhood is controlling your sexual desire. You know, men are just different than women, and men are like, ooh, I could fuck her, I could fuck her, I could fuck her. Like, I would fuck them all. And having so much money and fame gives him access to a lot of women. And so as he progressed in his career, I'm sure had a lot of groupies, had a lot of women that he was having sex with. He was rapping about, you know, these experiences. But as you get older, as you become more emotionally mature, as you become more spiritually mature, you become more discerning with who you decide to share your body with. And specifically for men, I think being able to control that really takes a power that's greater than your willpower and connecting to something deeper. So I think T.I. is spiritual, and I know like he's gone to church and like tithes and all that stuff, which is like a beautiful thing that he's thinking about it like that. I have no idea if he's still out here doing it. I have no idea. But that would be like an indicator of like where he is in the process. Men who are able to control their sex drive, which means they are not going to be out here pursuing women on the basis of sex and neglecting their purpose, or they are not going to be neglecting the energy inside of them that's telling them it's time to create, it's time to leave a legacy, it's time to build, right? If you're focused so much on sex and women and going, you are neglecting other areas of your life. And so when you, if you're a man, right, go through this process of controlling, like managing this sex drive inside of you and it not being the thing that controls you, you have leveled up. You are already doing so much better than so many men who are still out here just trying to get it. That like just trying to get it. So in the case of T.I., and I know recently what he did with his daughter, going to the gynecologist, I don't really like to exist in black and white of wrong, bad. I really like considering the question, is what you did like harmful to someone? Was what you did kind and loving? And you can't just go based on your own feelings. If it's affecting another person, you have to ask that person, did I hurt you when I did this? Even if I had the best of intentions, because I get it. To me, it makes like perfect sense. You know, if I'm putting myself in his mind and his experiences of, I want to protect my daughters, I want to give them the best life, I want to help secure their value as women in society. So I think this is a thing that I am supposed to do. Except it's not a thing he's supposed to do. He's supposed to ask his daughter. And if he has like clear communication that's like based in openness and non-judgmentalness and not based in control, then he would get an honest answer from his daughter about what it is that she feels most comfortable with. I get the sense that he didn't, which is an indication of where he is in the process. A friend of mine says, self-awareness is currency. Like, it gives us so much access to things and to understanding people. And if you are not self-aware, you're not very conscious, you're not really tapping in, you're not paying attention to your intuition, you're just not tapped into like spirit, God, the universe, and so you're gonna miss a lot of things. And so what I want you to do, because this is not even about T.I., this is about the lesson of What are we doing that might be harmful to other people in our life that we say we love and care about? Right? And you can get that by pausing, checking in with yourself, also checking in with the other person. And these conversations are not easy. If they were easy, we would all be doing it. I wouldn't even be having this conversation. If T.I. had this conversation with his daughter early on, 18 is not the time to introduce the conversation of non-judgmentalness and openness and what it means to have sex and how it's different for boys and girls and why it's different. Like 18 is not the time to have that. The time to have that is like in the beginning, before puberty starts, when they're just getting information about, feelings for other people and crushes and all that stuff. That's when the conversation needs to be had about the differences, what it means, and then you can establish a foundation of trust, right? Somewhere where your child will come to you and say this is what they want from you because they feel so comfortable doing it. T.I. didn't have that, which is unfortunate. Unfortunate for his daughter. And I read, don't know if it's true, read that she was liking tweets about, how she felt it was over controlling and possessive and like all these things about her father doing it to her. I would think that that's a natural reaction to a father coming into the gynecologist just to check that I'm still a virgin, because society basically tells women that your worth is based on your sex and a man's ability to have sex with you. And it's not just an American thing, it's a global thing. But this one example is something that we can use just to check in our own lives, right? Don't just consume all the news about T.I. Really pause and think greater, like what is society telling us? What are the messages we're receiving? This is an opportunity to talk to your kids, if you have them, about like, why is this news? Why are so many people upset by this? Why are women treated so negatively across the world? We can learn a lot from this. And I hope you got something from this. And I hope you pause and, consider in your own life some areas of growth. Thank you for watching. Here.